Hi, this is Chintan Patel and welcome back to the video lecture series of the fundamentals of machine design. In this lecture, we are going to learn the design of a quarter joint. This type of a joint can be asked in your examination in the theoretical section as well as in your example sections. Both the parts are counterpart of each other. If you know the first part, theoretical part, then and then you will be able to calculate the examples based on that. And that's why this is the cornerstone for the examples of your quarter joint, which is widely utilized in our industrial applications as well as few automobile applications. So this the quarter joint is going to be the very important topic in your machine design subject because it will be utilized in the upcoming semesters also. Okay, so let's get started with the first slide of this lecture, and that is the theory of the design of a socket and a spigot joint. So there are different types of a quarter joint available in the market, but we are going to learn the design of a socket and a spigot joint. As you can see on the screen that there is a spigot joint assembly available on my head, then above me, then you can easily identify different components of this assembly, that this is the socket, this is the spigot, and this one is the quarter pin. And if you want to have a clear idea by the exploded view, then you can get the exploded view over here. So this is our exploded view where a socket is separate and spigot and quarter pin, each and every component are separate from each other. So basically this type of a joint are utilized to couple, or we can say that to joint or to transmit the power from the one to another shafts. So basically our aim is to join the two different shafts. So our shafts are shafts are manipulated, or we can say that modify on the ends like this. So these are the shaft ends. So this is nothing but one of our shaft. This is also our one shaft. So this is the shaft end of our shaft, and the end of the shaft is modified in this shape. So we can say that this is also an end of the shaft, and the end of the shaft is modified in this shape. So it is not joined with the shaft. The shaft end itself is made in this manner in order to create the socket and the spigot joint. So after creating this type of a shape, we will create a through hole, or we can say that a through slot in the shaft, or we can say that in the socket and the spigot, both the shaft. Then after inserting the spigot into the socket, we will get the through hole to insert the quarter pin in the hole or in the slot. So this is the basic assembly design of the socket and the spigot, and now we will see the design procedure or the steps to design the different dimension of those components. How many dimensions are there? First of all, there will be the thickness of the quarter pin which is visible from the side view, or outer diameter of the socket collar, outer diameter of the socket, inner diameter of the socket, diameter of the spigot, outer diameter of the spigot collar, and the diameter of the shaft. So this type of different dimensions are required to be calculated for the design of the spigot and the socket joint, and we will see those calculations in the 10 different steps, and that's why you will have to pay attention in order to fit those steps in your mind with a perfect sequence. So you will have to consider this type of a diagram, and this diagram itself indicates each and every notation for the different dimensions of your design, and we are going to explain each and every dimension and the parameters. So first we are going to identify our force, which is a tensile force which is applied on the both side of the shaft, and that's why we can say that our design is to sustain a tensile force on the body. So this is one type of a design where we are going to sustain the tensile force. Okay, now the shaft which is required to be joined is having the diameter D, which is similar on the both side. Both the shafts are having the same diameter D. So there is no misconception that we are going to we can join any diameter, but right now we are going to discuss about the design which is having the two different shafts of the same diameter. So D is our diameter. Outer diameter of the socket is represented as a D1. Capital D1 is the outer diameter of the socket. Now the inner diameter of the socket, which is also the diameter of the spigot, is D1, small d1. That was the capital D1 and now it is a small d1. Now the outer diameter of the socket spigot collar is small d2 and outer diameter of the socket collar is capital D2. Now you can easily remember those diameters by its name also. So all the socket diameters are capital. Socket outer diameter, socket collar diameter, and all the spigot diameters are small. So spigot inner diameter or spigot diameter or rod diameter and spigot collar diameter. So you can identify and remember those diameters in a sequence like this. Okay, so now we are going to explain further notations. This is the average width of the quarter. As you can see, the quarter is having the taper on throughout its height, and that's why we cannot find out the exact width at a particular point, because due to the taper the width of the quarter is changing with respect to the length or the height, and that's why we are going to consider the average width of the quarter, that is B, and B is the average width of the quarter. Now we will see that there are other dimensions like the thickness of the quarter is T and the thickness of the spigot collar is T1. Okay, so this was the dimension. This distance between the slot and the socket end is C. This distance from the slot and the rod end is A, and this is the eccentricity E. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the first step, that is the failure of the rod in tension to determine the diameter D. Diameter D is the diameter of the shaft. Now we will utilize the basic equation of the tensile stress, because this shaft is going to be we are going to apply the tensile force on it, and we assume that the shaft is going to fail due to the direct application of the tensile force. So it will generate the tensile stress in the material, that is sigma T equals to P upon pi by 4 D square. Now we have the value of P from the given data, we have the value of sigma T from the given data, then we can directly calculate the answer of D. So this was the first step in which we are going to calculate the diameter D. Now the second step is the thickness of the quarter. As you can see, this is the side view of the assembly, and the side view of the assembly contains the thickness of the quarter over here, that is T. Length of the quarter is represented by L. Now if you want to calculate the thickness, then you can directly assume it as a 0.3 times D. D is already calculated in the previous step. So if you put the value of the D into this equation, you will get the answer of the T. Okay, so now we will see the 3A step, in the a sub step, that is 3A, that is the failure of the rod or a quarter in a crushing to calculate the diameter D1, which was the diameter of the spigot. Now if you consider the spigot, then spigot would look like this. Now if it is the rod, or rod is also known as a spigot. So rod or a quarter are in the crushing. Those are in crushing in the contacted region, and the contacted region is represented by this pink region over here. This contacted region is represented by the pink region over here, and that pink region from the side view will look like this. That pink region from the side view will look like this. This is our region area or the crushing area which is required to be considered. As this is area of a rectangle, then we can directly calculate it as a D1 into T as an area. So if you put this into our basic equation of the crushing stress, that is sigma c equals to force upon projected area, then projected area is d1 into t and our force is P. So sigma c equals to d1 into t in, P divided by d1 into t. We know the value of P, we know the value of sigma c from the given data. Then utilizing the value of T, we can directly calculate the value of d1. So that is the diameter of the spigot. But we have calculated this dimension using one assumption, that is t equals to 0.3d. And I have already explained you in the previous lectures that whenever we are using the assumption, we need to ascertain whether these assumptions are safe for our design or not. So in order to ascertain that, we will calculate the shear stress tension in this using this equation. Now consider this failure for the safety, the failure of the spigot in tension across the weakest section. So the spigot can fail where a weakest section is at the weakest section only. First we are going to identify the weakest section of the spigot. The weakest section of the spigot is the section where the cross section area is minimum, and this is the area which is represented by the pink color, where the cross section area is minimum because of the slot which is provided to insert the cotter. Okay, so that's why we can say that this is the area where the spigot is weakest during the working condition. So the area from the side view will look like this, and our intention is to calculate this area. This area can be calculated by subtracting this rectangle from the area of the circle. So the area of this so the area for this section will be pi by 4 d1 square minus d1 into t. So our equation would look like this. The sigma t equals to force upon area. The area is already explained in the in this diagram. Then you can easily calculate the value of sigma t. Our intention is to verify whether this is safe or not, and for that particular intention you need to calculate the sigma t and compare it with the given data. So P is also known, D1 is calculated using the assumption, T itself is an assumption, and that's why we will calculate the sigma T and compare it with the given sigma T. So if the value of the sigma T is less than the value of the given sigma T, then our sigma T is safe against the working condition. Okay, so this condition should be satisfied in order to go escalate our procedure into the upcoming step. So we will see another step of the design, that is the failure of the spigot collar in crushing. So D2, that is the dimension of the spigot collar, is required to be calculated using this step. So if you consider the spigot collar from the side view, it will look like this ring. So the area of this ring is nothing but the pi by 4 d2 square minus d1 square. So if you consider the crushing stress equation, that is force upon projected area, then your equation will be like this. Now due to this equation, you can directly calculate the value of d2, which is the value of outer diameter of the spigot collar. Now after calculation of the D2, we will escalate our procedure to the step number 5, that is the failure of the spigot collar in shearing. Through this step we are going to calculate the T1 dimension. So the T1 dimension can be calculated using the shearing of the spigot collar. The shearing occurs in this manner. Whenever the force is applied to it in order to insert the spigot in this direction, then it will create the reaction in the opposite direction, and that's why we assume that the spigot which was situated at this pink region will be failed, and it will try to slide in the backward direction. Okay, so using the equation of the shear stress, that is P upon pi by pi d1 into t, we are going to calculate the dimension T1, which is the only unknown in this equation. Now we will see the step number 6, that is the failure of the rod end in the shear. Through this step we are going to calculate the dimension A. the dimension A is the distance from the slot end to the rod end. So over here the slot end starts, and this is the rod end, and the distance between these 2 points is known as the dimension A. So our failure of the rod end in shear will cause the failure in this manner, and this metal portion of the rod will be casted out due to the failure in the shear manner. Okay. In order to calculate this type of shearing, we need to consider the cross section area, which is the resisting area for the shear. That is this region, that reddish region, which is also available from on the back side. So the area of this resistance will be 2 times, and this 2 times area is considered as a 2 times d1 into A. So if you put the value of P, if you put the value of tau, and if you put the value of d1, then you will be able to calculate the dimension A, which is the only unknown in this equation. Now we will see another steps, step number 7, in order to calculate the dimension d1. That is the failure of the socket in tension across the slot, and this is the socket, and whenever it fails due to the tension, it will fail at the weakest section, and the weakest section is the section where the slot is provided to accommodate the quarter into it. So these are the dimensions of the socket where the slot is provided. Then the cross section area which is required to be calculated is this ring region, so considering the hole for the slot. Okay, so if you consider this region, then your equation would look like this. Using this equation, as you can see, we know the value of d1 and t, then the only unknown in this equation, it will be d1. So using this equation, we can easily calculate the dimension d1. Now our step number 8 is the failure of the socket collar in crushing, that is the d2. So your socket collar in the crushing would look like this, and your crushing is visible at the pink section. So your pink section is seen from the side view like this. So from the side view, you can consider the projected area of this pink section as a 2 different rectangle, and in order to calculate the dimension of area of this rectangle, you will see this equation from the area d2 minus d1 into t. Now in this equation, d1 is available, t is also available, so that you can calculate the diameter d2, and this step will give you the answer of d2. The step number 9 is the failure of the socket end in shearing. This will give you the answer of the C. This is similar to the step number 5 or 6, which was the shearing of the rod end, and in these steps we are going to apply the same concept, and there will be only one unknown in this equation C, which can be calculated using the calculator. Now we are going to see the last step of the theory, that is the failure of the quarter in shear, which will give you the answer of dimension B, and the quarter pin will shear in this manner, and that's why we will have to consider the double shear at the upper portion and at the bottom portion. That's why we are going to consider our area twice. So our area for the shear stress will be 2 times BT, and using this equation there will be only one unknown B, and that can be calculated using the calculator, and your B answer will be available. So this was the design procedure of the quarter joint, and we are going to see the examples in the upcoming lecture. So we conclude our lecture over here. Thank you.